I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports, and welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's RealTime Fantasy Sports Show, I'm going to give you 5 cold plays for Week 1 of the NFL season. Yesterday, I gave you 5 top plays for Week 1. Today, I'm going to go the opposite way and give you 5 cold plays. These are guys you might want to think about benching in this first week of the NFL season. All right, let's get to it. My first cold play is Giants quarterback Daniel Jones. I absolutely love Jones this year from a fantasy perspective. I think he's going to have a breakout year. I loved his finish to his rookie year, especially considering all the injuries they had at receiver in New York. Still played very well, but I hate his matchup in Week 1. He plays Pittsburgh. They allowed the 6th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks last year, one of the best defenses in all of football. I think Jones could struggle in this one, might not post very good numbers for his fantasy owners. So if you have better options at QB in Week 1, I would go with them. All right, my second cold play for Week 1, DeVante Parker with Miami. Another player I like this year. I think he's a little undervalued, especially considering Miami's a little beat up at receiver, and Parker's really one of the last guys standing, so he could get a lot of volume. But he plays New England this week, and we all know what New England does. They take away the opposition's top weapon offensively. Who's the top weapon for Miami? I think it's DeVante Parker. So I can expect Bill Belichick to focus on stopping Parker in this matchup. New England has a great secondary. They allowed the 2nd fewest fantasy points to receivers last year. So I think Parker could struggle in the opener. All right, my third cold play, Leonard Fournette with Tampa. All right, Fournette just signed with the team. He should have a role this week. Probably not a huge role, though, as he continues to learn the offense. Plus, he plays the Saints this week. They allowed the 6th fewest fantasy points to running backs last year. They struggled a lot more against the pass than the run. I just don't see Fournette playing a huge role in this game. Again, he just signed. Ronald Jones is still there. Bruce Arians keeps saying that Ronald Jones is the starter. I know Fournette's probably going to overtake him sooner than later. But for this first week, I think Fournette will be eased into action, probably won't get a ton of touches, and he plays a pretty good Saints rush defense. So I might just stay away from him in Week 1. All right, another cold play. My fourth one on the list is Aaron Rodgers with Green Bay. Green Bay did very little to help Rodgers this offseason. We know what happened in the draft. Didn't really take another receiver to help outside of Davante Adams. Still have a lot of question marks outside of Adams. That's a concern for me. Plus, he has a tough matchup this week against Minnesota. He averaged 213 passing yards in 2 games against the Vikings last year, scored just 3 touchdowns in those 2 games. His numbers were really ho-hum, and I think they will be again this week against Minnesota. I think it could be a low-scoring game as both teams focus on running the ball with their 2 backs, Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook. I think Rodgers will be a pretty mediocre play for fantasy teams in Week 1. All right, my last cold play is A.J. Green with Cincinnati. So Green's finally back on the field. He hasn't played in over a year, though, so you have to expect some rust. Plus, he's already battling a hamstring injury. That's a concern for me as well. And Andy plays not San Diego anymore, but the Los Angeles Chargers, who allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points to receivers last year. So Green has a lot of things working against him this first week of the season. I think this means he could have another like other people on this list, poor showing for their fantasy owners in Week 1. I think Green could struggle. I don't like his matchup. I don't like the fact he's been off so long. All right, so those are my 5 cold plays for Week 1 of the NFL season. I appreciate you watching. And don't forget, there's still drafts going on here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. You can draft all the way up through Saturday night on our site. So go to rtsports.com. Click on the football link, and then click on Money Leagues. You can see all the different leagues we have to offer at RealTime Fantasy Sports. We have different price points. You can play in our famous All-American leagues for just $30, or you can play in high-stake leagues for more than $1,000. So go to rtsports.com, sign up for a league today. Again, you can keep drafting through Saturday night on our site. Once Saturday night is over with, drafts are done, and the season is going to start. So I appreciate you watching once again, and I look forward to doing another one of these videos in the coming days. This has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day.